Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Play as Naruto at the beginning. Chapter 51. When Kim nodded and bowed to the masked man, Coulson and Natasha only felt that the information they had learned about Kim Nam was false news. The Underworld Emperor. Rebellious. Cold noodles and black. Killing without blinking. A chrysanthemum almost smiled on this face. Tell me this is the Golden Union we know. But after the astonishment, Coulson and Natasha quickly guessed why Kim Ho was like this. Is this masked man the chakra powerhouse of the secret forces mentioned by Bo Feng Shui men? Coulson and Natasha looked at each other, and saw similar thoughts in the eyes of each other. As a result, the two of them turned on the sound transmission device they carried and transmitted all the sounds at this moment back to S.H.I.E.L.D. Bureau. Just before the battle, they were worried about damaging the machine, so they shut it down. Wu Chen noticed the movements of these two people, but ignored them. At this moment, the Bo Feng Shuiman he played was paying full attention, focusing all his attention on the masked man in front of him. Natasha had never seen Bo Feng Shuiman like this. No matter what task it was before, Bo Feng Shuiman could easily complete it, which caused his attitude to be lazy. Although on the surface he was doing the task seriously, but Natasha, who was getting along day and night, could feel that he had not tried his best. But at this moment, Bo Feng Shuiman finally got serious, as if he had seen someone evenly matched with him. The masked man was still talking and hating. Wherever we go, you will follow wherever we go, just like a baby asking for milk. Wu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly, his expression became dangerous. I didn't expect that there was really a force doing things secretly. I am Konoha's fourth generation of Hokage Wave Fengshouman, who are you? Hearing this, the masked man narrowed his eyes. Want to know who I am? I won't talk about it if I win. After the conversation, two shurikens shot towards Wu Chen. The speed of the shuriken was extremely fast, and the trajectory happened to pass through the necks of Coulson and Natasha, and finally pierced towards Bo Feng Shuiman. Seeing this, Wu Chen reacted swiftly, and directly blocked the two agents with an instantaneous technique. The trident in his hand did not turn, and he flew two shurikens with two bangs. Ding ding. Read more at the shuriken that was blown away remained undiminished in strength, directly nailed to the wall, submerged in half. Coulson and Natasha were scared for a while. If it hadn't been for Bo Feng Shuiman to fly the shurikens for them, and if these two shurikens hit them, it would not be surprising that they died under the two shurikens. At this time, the masked man stepped forward and began to quickly seal. Seeing that Yin Fa, Bo Feng Shuiman's expression changed, he grabbed Natasha and Coulson by the shoulders without explaining, and activated the Flying Thunder God technique. At the same time, a huge fireball appeared in front of the masked man, which directly filled the corridor and exploded toward the place where the Bo Feng Shuiman and others were originally located. Bang! The raging flames burned, and the walls were exploded with large holes. Jin Biao watched this scene in a daze, and was shocked that when the adults cleaned up the Green Demon and the others that day, they should have kept their hands. Otherwise, with the power of this flame, the Green Devils and other villains would definitely die on the spot. My lord, your flame is so powerful. Jin Bin quickly praised, but the masked man did not respond. He directly reached out and grabbed Jin Bin's clothes, then the whirlpool appeared and sucked him and Jin Bin in. On the streets of Hell's Kitchen, the three people reappeared at the place where the Thunder God's mark was when the Bo Feng Shuiman and others first arrived. Wow! Wu Chen let go of Coulson and Natasha, letting them both lean on the wall to breathe. The reason why space ninjutsu is difficult to carry forward, apart from the need for space talent, which is difficult to be mastered, is the problem of physical adaptability. Ordinary people can't stand it at all for 2 or 3 spatial movements in a row. Most people will vomit directly, and a few people with stronger physique will collapse and pant. Obviously, Coulson and Natasha are in pretty good physique. Why did you hide? Coulson, who was slowing down, asked without understanding, but before Wu Chen could answer, he saw a flame explosion in the corridor at the bottom of the Fisk building in the distance. The deafening noise and the blazing flame made Coulson realize that he had been saved again. Thank you. Natasha thanked her seriously. But Wu Chen waved his hand. It's not over yet, we are fighting each other, and each other's chakras are contaminated by each other, and we can't escape in a short time. Naturally, Wu Chen lied. Chakra marks and so on do exist, but the soil is just useless, so there is no need to fight in a short period of time. The reason for saying this is to let the people of S.H.I.E.L.D. see the strength of the Konoha village and Akatsuki organization. It can be said that, except for a few villains in the Marvel world, no matter whether they are heroes or villains, the others in the Marvel world are not opponents of Mizuman and Uchiha. After all, the ninja's ability is really weird. But if there is no opponent, how can we let others know what the ninja is better than? Therefore, the battle between ninjas must appear. Although he planned to have a battle of powerful ninjas today, Wu Chen did not intend to start the Nine Tails Rebellion today. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't really know the power of ninjas, they didn't even have the intention of mobilizing New Yorkers to leave. How can this work? Although Wu Chen can control his strength by hitting his left hand with his right hand, the nine tails summoned by the summoning card are completely complete. It's not surprising that New York City will be destroyed if one is not careful. Wu Chen worried that the Nine Tails Rebellion would accidentally injure innocent citizens. This is not his mother, but he does not want to involve too many innocent people with his own affairs. This is Wu Chen's bottom line. If a person has no bottom line, he will become more terrible than a villain. Of course, the innocent people that Wu Chen doesn't want to implicate don't include people from evil parties, punks, villains, and so on. Therefore, today's battle of powerful ninjas must be so powerful that S.H.I.E.L.D. clearly understands how powerful ninjas can be. This will allow New Yorkers to move out. Then Wu Chen can start the Nine Tails Rebellion with peace of mind, collect money and play progress. Hearing what Wu Chen said, Collison, Natasha, and even the think tank and Nick Fury who were analyzing and researching within S.H.I.E.L.D. were all taken aback. Before they could say anything, Wu Chen continued, "However, this is exactly what I want. It is not my style to run without a fight. Besides, I am Konoha's fourth-generation Hokage." Wu Chen's words are full of confidence. This is the confidence that only strong strength can bring. After listening to Nick Fury, he immediately ordered, "Send a drone to the Hell's Kitchen to investigate. Be sure to take a clear image." Buzzing, 3 drones flew out of the Trident building of S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters and hurried to Hell's Kitchen. Sure enough, as Wu Chen said, the spatial vortex appeared, and the masked man came after him with gold. Read more at seeing the two chasing after them. Collison immediately said to Wu Chen, "Mr. Bofeng, are you sure to defeat that masked man?" When Wu Chen heard this, he replied, 7% sure. "Well, Natasha and I hold Jin and, you don't have to worry about us." Collison was also winking enough. He saw this kind of extraordinary battle. He and agents like Natasha had no room to intervene. Rather than intervening casually to let Bofeng Shuaman distract and protect them, it is better that they directly drag the opponent's other combat power to prevent it from disturbing the battle of Bofeng Shuaman. Avertisement. The masked man also paid the same attention. Looking at Jin Bin, the masked man pointed at Collison and Natasha and said, "Jin Bin, let me see the results of your practice. If I am satisfied, I can give you a ninjutsu suitable for you for free." Quote. Jin he was ecstatic, his fighting spirit increased greatly, and he stared at the two agents. Suddenly, the space in the field seemed to be divided into 2 parts. One part is that the two agents are fighting against the huge Jin Bin, and the other part is the Bofeng Shuaman and the masked man looking at each other. At this time, S.H.I.E.L.D. drones arrived just in time. Accompanied by the sound of the propeller humming, it seemed as if the horn of war was sounded, and the two battlefields instantly began to fight. Natasha and Collison finally took out their pistols. They judged that with the size of Jin Bin, they must be a type with great strength and super defensive power, but slow speed. In this case, if they don't come up with deadly weapons, they will probably not even be able to break the defense, let alone defeat or subdue Gold. Looking at the two agents holding guns, Jinhei smiled slyly. Guns can indeed cause damage to him now, but the problem is, you have to hit him first. After getting chakra, Jin Bin's movement speed has been greatly improved, and he is no longer the powerful but slow Roshan of the past. Although he is not as fast as a bullet, he can surpass the speed at which the two agents can turn their guns. As long as you avoid the direction of the gun, you will never be shot. However, even though he knew he had crushing strength against the two agents, Jin did not intend to end the battle immediately. One is his cautious nature, he wants to see the strength of the two agents first, and then act after confirming their strength. The second is that Jin Bin also wants to see the battle between the masked man and the water gate. the kind of battle that uses chakras ninjutsu, that is the real battle. Therefore, he has one mind and three purposes, playing with the two agents while preventing them from suddenly violent and subduing themselves, while quietly watching the battle next to him. Compared with Jin Bin, Natasha and Collison's pressure can be a little too much. They didn't expect Jin Bin's size to be able to run so fast. Looking at the blue light under Jin Bin's feet and hands, the two of them guessed a terrible fact. Jin and unexpectedly mastered chakra. Moreover, the effect of chakra on increasing people is so great. Wuxia pays attention to the battle at Bofeng Shuamen, even if it is a 2-on-1 match. Collison and Natasha are fully focused on the match. Because they are slightly careless, they will be slapped and slapped by Jin. Wu Chen paid more attention to the battle between Jin Bin and the three, but more attention was still on the masked man. Even if he knew that the other person was himself, Wu Chen was a little bit enthusiastic at the moment. What's the point of always crushing the game? Evenly matched is the most exciting battle. Moreover, Wu Chen also wanted to give it a try, to what extent he can currently play the role of the character. And at this moment, the evenly matched situation, it's coming. The adrenaline was soaring, and Wu Chen took out a three-pointed kunora masked man and shot it over. The masked man raised his head slightly, he took out a long slender chain and flicked it twice, with an air of carelessness, as if he didn't put Bofeng Shuamen in his eyes. When the trigeminal kunai approached him, the masked man didn't hide, he quietly watched the special kunai that was approaching fast. This scene made everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D. frown. Think tanks talked a lot, this masked man is too big. If he dares to face the Bofeng Shuamen like this, he will die. I don't think so, he is very confident, he should have some means, the strength is not weak. Only Nick Fury stared at the screen, seeming to want to see the face under the mask of the man in the mask. Ha! The golden light flashed, and Wu Chen came to the masked man from where he was standing. He stretched out his hand to grab the trigeminal kunai in flight, and stabbed the masked man's neck forcefully. Sure enough, Bofeng Shuamen is very strong. One of the think tanks who watched the live broadcast in S.H.I.E.L.D. once again emphasized his point of view. However, the situation in the field did not go on as he expected, the masked man was beheaded and a crisis was eliminated. I saw that trigeminal kumo in Bofeng Shuamen's hand passed through the neck of the masked man, as if the masked man did not exist. What's going on? Nick Fury finally couldn't hold his face. He shouted to the think tank, analyze this situation quickly. The interior of S.H.I.E.L.D. was suddenly messed up. At this time, the masked man moved. He leaned forward, holding both ends of the chain with both hands, and then passed through the body of Bofeng Shuamen and ran farther. Wow! Read more at the chain was thrown high, forming a perfect arc in the air. Looking at the oncoming chain, Wu Chen's Bofeng Shui gate seemed to have not seen any abnormalities, and did not escape, so it was entangled by the chain. In other words, this situation is too late to escape. For a time, offensive and defensive swaps. Putting the chain on one hand, the masked man began to seal, fire escape dragon fire. Wow! Under the gaze of S.H.I.E.L.D. and others, the flame that appeared out of thin air was generated from the end of the chain, and then followed the chain and rushed towards the Bofeng Shuamen. Obviously there is no combustible material on the chain, but the flame is burning, and the flame wave rises 3 or 4 meters high. Seeing that the flame is about to hit Bofeng Shuamen, a tragedy is about to happen. With a bang, Bofeng Shuamen turned into a chair, freed from the shackles of the chains, and appeared on the side of the road not far away. Stand-in surgery. Boom! The wooden chair was directly hit by the flame and turned into a burning fireball. This situation puzzled the think tank of S.H.I.E.L.D. They couldn't think of how this masked man could do this. The Bofeng Shui men played by Wu Chen also pretends to be incomprehensible at this moment, his expression is solemn, his eyes are thinking. After a while, Wu Chen directly printed, "Wind escape great breakthrough." Hoo. A huge wind spit out from Wu Chen's mouth and struck at the masked man who was closing the chains. Wind escape breakthrough is not only blowing a hurricane, but also a small wind blade mixed in the wind, enough to cut the enemy. But because of its lack of power, this surgical market is used for clearing and testing. At this moment, it is Wu Chen's process of showing himself to test the masked man. Sure enough, the masked man did not hide, and directly greeted the hurricane directly. However, the chains in his hand that were supposed to fly in the wind under this hurricane did not move at all. Even the clothes of the masked man did not shake. Seeing this scene, Wu Chen's Bo Feng Shuaman thought. The think tank of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going crazy. What the hell is this ability? Obviously you can attack people, but you can't be attacked. What an invincible method is this? Don't panic, it's definitely not absolutely invincible, analyze it carefully, you guys. In the field, the masked man slowly spoke after Wu Chen stopped the hurricane, as this Konoha's Hokage. But that's it. If you only have this level, I don't have the time to keep playing with you. After all, the masked man closed his chains, raised his hand and took out the Uchiha group fan from the whirlpool. At this moment, the scarlet Shalunian flashed in his eyes, which made Bo Feng Shuaman can't help but exclaimed, Shalunian. You are from the Uchiha clan. Huh, that kind of decadent family is worthy. The masked man said with disdain. Stop talking nonsense, Hokage of Konoha village, take it. He held the group fan high, and at the same time activated the spell, Fire Escape Blasting Wind Flurry. As the masked male voice fell, a thick fiery snake suddenly appeared in front of him, spiraling toward Wu Chen. The space appeared to be distorted, which further accelerated the speed of the fire serpent. And, with the extension of the fire snake, its volume is rapidly expanding, and it soon reached the level of 2 or 3 meters in diameter. But this was not over yet. The masked man suddenly took the Uchiha group fan held high, and an inexplicable wind mixed into the fire snake, causing the fire snake to skyrocket again. Quickly, with a diameter of tens of meters, the fiery snake like an earthly python was born, filling the streets of Hell's Kitchen in an instant. Seeing this scene, Wu Chen never thought of resisting. He directly activated the Thunder God's technique, came to Natasha, raised his foot and kicked Jin flying, and at the same time grabbed Collison and activated the Thunder God's technique again. The block a few kilometers away is not very far from where Wu Chen lives. On a certain roof, the three Wu Chen looked at the Hell's Kitchen, which was completely filled with flames, with mixed expressions. Wu Chen didn't expect that the B-level ninjutsu Fire Escape, Blasting Wind Flurry, the power of the earth, and the Uchiha group fan could achieve such an effect. The Hell's Kitchen covers an area of several square kilometers, and most of it is shrouded in flames at this moment. Although the Naruto plot also uses this trick with Uchiha Madara in the Naruto story, the fire escape that the two jointly released requires the entire ninja coalition to resist with water escape. But Wu Chen didn't expect that the current soil belt could do that. Obviously, the Uchiha group fan played a big role. However, this works great. Surely everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D. can clearly recognize the destructive power of ninjas. The main purpose of this wave has been achieved. Read more at Natasha and Collison stared at the scene like a natural disaster with their mouths stunned. They couldn't imagine that the ninja could achieve this level. Directly created flames and burned through a few blocks. Trembling, Natasha took out her cell phone to make a call to the fire alarm, but Collison stopped her. If you don't defeat the person who set the fire, the flame will appear again. At the same time, S.H.I.E.L.D. was silent, the kind that could be heard clearly even when a needle fell on the ground. Jiliang, the masked man stopped continuing to release Huo Dun, and a member of the S.H.I.E.L.D. think tank made a trembling voice, fake. Fake, how can humans do this? Secretary, I suggest that New Yorkers should be evacuated from the city as soon as possible. At least there can be no civilians in Times Square. Finally, someone made a suggestion that Wu Chen wanted to see. Nick Fury was thinking with his chin. Chief, do you still need to think about it? Question mark. The final battlefield must be in Times Square. In such non-human battles, the chance of ordinary people surviving is zero. The member of the think tank was talking while pointing at the big screen. Look at the block in Hell's Kitchen. Even if the masked man doesn't set fire anymore, there is still a very serious fire. If you don't put out the fire in time, it is likely to evolve into a fire that burns the entire New York. Do you still not understand this? Hearing this, Nick Fury looked ugly. I will lobby the government. Next, Nick Fury said to his headset, Agent Coulson, give your headset to Bo Feng Shuaman. On the roof, Collison took off his headset and handed it to Wu Chen. Wu Chen raised his eyebrows and took over the headset. Mr. Bo Feng, do you accept the commission now? Connect. Then, in my own name, I entrust you to defeat that masked man as quickly as possible and pay $1 million. Nick Fury gritted his teeth. At the same time, the task of preventing Nine Tails or sealing Nine Tails, we shield will increase task rewards from 10 million to 20 million. The other 10 million will be paid after the task is completed. Okay, Wu Chen responded neatly. He has no reason not to agree. Entrusted by Nick Fury, Wu Chen wanted to do this, and today's battle should be finished after the masked man showed a devastating fire escape. As for the increase in the rewards of the Kyuubi Rebellion mission, this is even more unexpected. Returning the headset to Collison, Wu Chen raised his hand and patted Collison on the shoulder, and said to the two of them, "Let's watch it here. Let me take the rest." Coulson nodded very obediently. He had a full understanding of his own abilities, and he knew that the current situation was not something he could intervene. Instead, it was Natasha. Her expression was a bit tangled, with a slightly worried look, Mr. Bofeng. However, Wu Chen didn't leave her with a chance to act so hard. He directly activated the technique of Flying Thunder God, turning into a golden flash and left. ... Natasha pursed her mouth. Returning to the streets of Hell's Kitchen, Wu Chen looked at the surrounding scenes like magma purgatory, and couldn't help but slapped his lips. It's a little bit past. Looking up and seeing the shield drone still operating, Wu Chen did not stop, and directly attacked the masked man not far away. It was still trigeminal kunai. Wu Chen shot a trigeminal kunai at the masked man. Immediately afterwards, his whole person turned into a golden light, grabbing the trigeminal kunai who was quickly approaching the masked man, and fought against it. Jingle bell. The trigeminal kunai and the Uchiha group fanned, making a clear sound of gold and iron hitting each other. Under the gaze of the people from S.H.I.E.L.D., Wu Chen's Bofeng Shuaman is currently engaged in a fierce hand-to-hand battle with the masked man, as if one of the two will be attacked by a weapon in the next second, and then he will be seriously injured and killed. The surrounding area is still burning with flames, and it makes the battle in the field to roll up a flower of flame from time to time, which looks particularly beautiful. At this time, they had a deeper understanding of the ninja profession. Ninjas not only possess and master the power of ninjutsu that destroys the world, but also possess the physical power and melee ability that ordinary people can't match. Even if these two people don't use any ninjutsu, they would be easily defeated by the best agents of SHI. However, when the two of them were fighting in a stalemate, the SHI Feng Shuaman immediately. The reason why they were so anxious was because Jin didn't know when they sneaked to the back of the duo. He held the stone high, making a gesture to smash the Bofeng Shui gate to death. At this moment, even though Wu Chen's Bofeng Shuaman noticed this, he couldn't bother Jin Bin. He was entangled by the masked man, and there was no way to be distracted. Once he is forcibly distracted, that is when he reveals his flaws and loses. Obviously, S.H.I.E.L.D. also knew this, and immediately called Collison and Natasha. As a result, the two agents, Coulson, who had better marksmanship, immediately picked up the pistol Natasha had given him, held the two guns at Jin Bin, and fired without hesitation. Happiness. Read more at Jin. He blocked the bullet with the boulder in his hand, but because of this he also lost the opportunity to attack Wu Chen. At this moment, Natasha, who is capable of close combat, slipped all the way downstairs and trot into the battlefield. Suddenly, Jin didn't want to help the masked man defeat Bofeng Shui Men's idea fell into the empty place. Even if Coulson and Natasha lost to the Golden Union of Chakra, they could still be restrained by force. Noting the actions of the two agents, Wu Chen smiled at the two Coulsons, and then moved away from the masked man. "I have fully understood it," Wu Chen said confidently. "You guys' weakness." "Oh," the masked man looked unbelieving. "It seems that Konoha's Hokage is not only cheeky, but also likes to talk big. Next, I will defeat you." Wu Chen seemed to have not heard the masked man's trash talk. He tightened the trigeminal kunai in his hand and rushed towards the masked man. "If you can do it, come on." The masked man did not show any weakness either. He held one end of the chain in one hand and the fan connected to the chain in the other, and stood ready. This change in the field, as well as the ruthless words released by the Bofeng Shui gate, were clearly seen by the people of S.H.I.E.L.D. The sound transmitter and the drone camera, neither of them were damaged. S.H.I.E.L.D. think tanks began to discuss again. "Do you think that Bofeng Shuaman can defeat this masked man?" "I think it's awful. The ability of this masked man is very tricky. As long as he wants, he can hide forever without being heard by anyone. Although the Bofeng Shuaman is powerful, how can he hit the imaginary masked man? Blur. That's right. This is the name I gave to the masked man's abilities. As long as the masked man's heart moves, he will be immune to any attack. Isn't this Blur? Blur. This name is indeed very appropriate. I also think that Bofeng Shuaman can just stimulate the masked man just now. He has no way to defeat the masked man. +1+1. Ha, just look forward to it. Bofeng Shuaman is not the kind of person who speaks loudly. He said that if he can defeat it, there must be a way. There are also Bofeng Shuaman fans inside S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, Bofeng Shuaman's behavior is shown. It's an affinity with S.H.I.E.L.D. The two parties who supported Bofeng Shuaman and those who felt that Bofeng Shuaman was just frightening the masked man, immediately quarreled in the internal meeting room of S.H.I.E.L.D. In the course of their dispute, the situation on the big screen in the conference room changed. However, this change is not from Bofeng Shuaman and masked man, but from Jin Bin's side. Natasha's fighting skills are very high, so with the help of Collison's long-range shooting, she and Jin are evenly matched. Then, she used the agent's equipment, stomped on the sole of her foot, and a spike of 5 or 6 centimeters long popped out of her toe. The spikes appeared, with the light of water droplets shining on them, obviously more than just spikes. Natasha smeared anesthetic medicine on the spikes. As long as the medicine entered the human blood circulation system, it would make the enemy immobile within a few seconds. Therefore, after using the spikes, Natasha's fighting style changed. She wanted to sacrifice a small price, and then pierce Jin Bin's skin with a spike to paralyze Jin Bin and win the battle. Jin didn't seem to be aware of her intentions, and foolishly ate her bait. Natasha deliberately exposed the flaw, her side waist position. Jin he punched directly. Click. The sound of a crisp fracture sounded, and Jin in this punch also broke 3 or 4 of Natasha's ribs. Enduring the pain, Natasha slammed her foot up and kicked, and the spike was about to pierce Jinhe's body and complete a fatal blow. But at this time, Jinin showed a weird smile, substitute technique. Bang! Jin Bin's huge body disappeared, and a wooden stake appeared instead. This is a wooden stake that Jin has prepared in advance, because he knows that the surrogate technique is best to be replaced with a stake in the operator, so he placed a lot of stakes around here. Ever since, boom, the spikes on Natasha's toes pierced the stakes and nailed them all in. Then, she couldn't pull it out. Jin did not naturally give up this good opportunity, bullied himself over, raised a punch, and hit Natasha hard on the head. If the punch is firm, Natasha will definitely burst her head and die instantly. But now she has nowhere to hide. The stakes seriously dragged down her movement speed. Collison hurriedly provided shooting support, but was completely blocked by the car door held by Jinhei. Kim wouldn't allow Collison to shoot. He tore off a piece of the car door in the course of the fight. Looking at Jin, he's getting closer and closer. Natasha smelled death. Read more at seeing that she was about to die in Wangquan. She inexplicably thought of the Bofeng Shuaman who spent many days with her day and night. You must defeat the masked man and save New York, she shouted in her heart like a last word. Then, with a flash of golden light, Wu Chen appeared behind Natasha, reached out his arm around her delicate body, once again turned into a flash of light and disappeared in place, causing Jin Bin's attack to fall into the void. Although Wu Chen didn't like Natasha's beauty tricks, he would not watch Natasha being killed by Jin. So he gestured to the masked man who was fighting, and the other party immediately understood and was beaten back by him. Then Wu Chen had the opportunity to launch the Thunder God technique to save Natasha. With a flash of golden light, Wu Chen appeared on the roof where Collison was holding Natasha. I gave up resistance just like that. It's not like you, I know, so. Wu Chen was about to say something when he saw Natasha staring at him inexplicably. This made him a little guilty, and directly handed Natasha to Coulson. Anyway, without your help, I will take care of everything. Ha! Looking at the Bofeng Shui gate returning to the battlefield from a distance, Natasha endured the pain in her waist while her eyes flickered. Coulson on one side took a look, his mouth hesitated, and finally he didn't say anything. Looking at the Bofeng water gate returning to the field, the masked man said to Jin, Jin, I am very satisfied with your practice results, so go aside. Then watch me defeat this Hokage with my own hands. Yes, my lord. Jin Ning heard this and immediately retreated to the edge of the battlefield. To be honest, Jin didn't want to fight with Bo Feng Shui Men's magical ability. Although it is not up to the level that adults can only attack others, and others cannot attack him, it is not gold and can be dealt with at all. So at the moment, the masked man told him to retreat, and Jin was very happy. Anyway, my lord is satisfied, the water escape ninjutsu will definitely not run away. For a time, the one-on-one situation resumed in the field. Seeing this, Wu Chen smiled. I didn't see it, you are quite samurai spirit. HMPH, I just think that dealing with you does not require other people's help, otherwise it would be a shame to me. The masked man did not accept Wu Chen's praise, he watched Wu Chen vigilantly, guarding against his attack. At this time, Wu Chen moved. He didn't shoot the trigeminal kunai first this time, but rushed directly in front of the masked man. The trigeminal kuwu in his hand seemed to be thrown out unintentionally. He didn't care about the lethality at all, it was just a temptation. The masked man had no idea of avoiding at all, he directly blurred himself, letting trigeminal kuma pass through his body. At this time, the distance between the Bo Feng Shui men played by Wu Chen and the masked man was very close. The masked man stretched out his hand, as if he wanted to grab Wu Chen's clothes. Seeing this scene, Wu Chen smiled at the corners of his mouth. He didn't start ninjutsu immediately, but stuck in time, and the moment the masked man touched his shirt, he started the Flying Thunder God technique. Wu Chen appeared above the masked man. He held kunai who had just passed through the masked man's body in one hand, and held the spiral pill in the other hand which was flashing blue. Twisting his body, when the masked man had no time to react, Wu Chen directly smashed a spiral pill on the masked man's back. Bang! This is the second stage of Fei Lei Shen. Wu Chen's voice resounded across the battlefield, and the spiral pill in his hand also exploded. Bang! The masked man was hit by the spiral pill and hit the ground directly, completely eating up the entire spiral pill's damage. Moreover, this was also the first time he was hit by an outside attack. Successful. The people who support Bo Feng Shuiman within Shield are more excited than Bo Feng Shuiman himself. I said Bo Feng Shuiman can defeat the masked man. What do you guys say now? The supporters are now banging their heads on the questioning faction, but the questioning faction has no way to refute and can only accept punishment. Who told them to look away? Nick Fury smiled for the first time, and then his expression showed some pain. 1 million. Natasha, supported by Collison, watched this scene happen from a distance, and then smiled. I knew you could. Jin Bin's eyes widened. Such a powerful adult was defeated at this moment. How can that be? Slap. Wu Chen left a mark of the God of Thunder on the masked man, then the smoke dissipated, and the masked man suddenly jumped back a few times. Seeing this scene, Jin He only breathed a sigh of relief. The adults can move, it should be no problem. Looking at Bo Feng Shuiman, the masked man's voice was a little bit painful. I didn't expect it. You can actually see it. In this case, we will stop for the time being today. Before he finished speaking, he saw Wu Chen's golden light flashing and appeared in front of him the next second. Bang! Lifting a kick, Wu Chen kicked the masked man out. Seeing this, Jin also found the correct position, jumped up and caught the masked man. After being caught by Jin Bin, the masked man did not speak, and directly condensed chakra with his fingers, and wiped the mark of Flying Thunder God on his back. The mark was removed, and the masked man didn't mean to continue to speak harsh words. He took the gold directly and entered the whirlpool. Finally gone. Cheers broke out from within Shield, and after seeing the power and weirdness of the masked man, they didn't think that Bo Feng Shuiman could solve the masked man directly once and for all. It was enough to be able to beat the opponent. After that, Shield began to get busy, and they immediately arranged a nearby fire brigade to rush to the Hell's Kitchen to put out the fire. In Hell's Kitchen, Wu Chen looked at the masked man and Jin Bin who left, with a dazed expression, as if he didn't expect the other party to leave so simply and neatly. With a flash of golden light, Wu Chen returned to Coulson and Natasha. I'll take you to the nearest hospital. As he said, he raised his hand on Collison's shoulder, preparing to take the two of them away. But Natasha took the initiative to leave with the help of Collison. She resisted the pain and took the initiative to embrace Bo Feng Shui men. But Wu Chen is still not good enough to leave her. This is a serious injury. Reluctantly, I had to put my arms around Natasha and took her and Coulson away from the still-burning Hell's Kitchen. Putting the two at the entrance of the hospital, Wu Chen ignored Natasha Chuchu's pitiful gaze and directly activated the technique of the Thunder God and left. Back home, Wu Chen changed back to his own appearance, raised his hand to support the window, and looked at the burning Hell's Kitchen in the distance. He whispered in his mouth, "Am I clearing the Hell's Kitchen in disguise?" Bang! Wu Chen, who was working hard to cultivate Chakra's control ability, saw his main body Wu Chen pretending to be like this, and suddenly became angry. It's nothing more than not letting me go out, but he actually came back to pretend to be in front of me. Are you still a human being? Practicing woolen yarn, labor and capital quit. As a result, he took the initiative to release the shadow clone, allowing that part of memory, experience and fatigue to return to Wu Chen's body. Feeling the emotion of the clone, Wu Chen couldn't help but shook his head and smiled. At this time, a whirlpool suddenly appeared in the house. In the whirlpool, came out of the masked man, the man who had just set fire to the entire Hell's Kitchen. Without saying more, the masked man dismissed the role and restored Wu Chen's appearance. The shadow avatar was half-blooded, and it looked like he was seriously injured. This let Wu Chen know what kind of injury he suffered while playing the character, and the injury would be transferred to him when he was relieved of the role. Fortunately, my body did not play the role of the beater, but the beater. It doesn't matter if the shadow clone is injured, just remove the shadow clone. In that way, the body will only feel the pain of the shadow clone, but it will not be really hurt. Since then, Wu Chen decided that in the future situation of left hand beating right hand, his own body must play the dominant figure, and let the shadow do it for injuries and beatings. Bang! This shadow clone finally couldn't hold it, and it was automatically released. At the same time, Wu Chen felt a sharp pain in his back, as well as a large memory. Without even thinking about it, Wu Chen directly took out the anti-fatigue potion, drank it all, then lay in bed to relieve the pain, while sorting out the memory of the clone, while viewing the benefits of this burning Hell Kitchen. However, there is a saying that it hurts to eat a spiral pill from the front. Before starting this battle, Wu Chen had thought about how to make the masked man appear in this wave and then retreat. It's easy to get out of the field, just to have a chance encounter. As for the retreat, Wu Chen remembered the way the Nine Tails Rebellion dealt with the masked man. Flying Thunder God second stage. This cool and powerful move. In fact, the second stage of Flying Thunder God does not have much higher technical content than the ordinary Flying Thunder God technique, but this technique needs to be released at the right time, and it also requires a strong reaction force. After the play progress of Bofeng Shuamin reached 50%, Wu Chen felt that he could successfully use the skills of the second stage of the Thunder God. Therefore, he decided to use the second paragraph of Fei Lei Shen as the conclusion, for the masked man to temporarily exit. This will not only be able to reasonably defeat the masked man, but also improve the compulsiveness of the masked man and the wave wind water gate. The masked man is so powerful, how can he defeat it casually? In that case, wouldn't everything that Wu Chen had molded in front of him be done in vain? Therefore, it was not that the masked man was defeated by Bofeng Shuamin, but because Bofeng Shuamin's fighting wisdom was too strong, so he defeated the masked man. These two are not the same. At this moment, according to the script, we successfully reproduced the scene of Bofeng Water Gate defeating the masked man with the second stage of the Thunder God. Everyone who wants to come to Shield has more confidence in Konoha village. Moreover, as long as they are not fools, their vigilance towards masked men will not decrease. Feeling the memory in his mind, Wu Chen knew what happened after the masked man took gold and left. Because he was thinking about money, the masked man, guided by Jin Bin, used space to move to Jin Bin's small vault. Directly collected 20 million in cash, the masked man handed it to Jin and 5 water escape ninjutsu. Water escape, water wall art, water escape, water prison art, water escape, water body art, water escape, water dragon bomb art, water escape, big waterfall art. 5 ninjutsu, with an average of 4 million each, but Jin did not quite willingly. After all, this is a monopoly, only the masked man is willing to teach him, and no matter how expensive the money is, he is also willing. However, the masked man didn't take so much money for nothing. He would guide Jin and the 5 ninjutsu training separately, and help Jin and master the 5 ninjutsu. And these 5 ninjutsu are not randomly selected. The defense, control, function, damage, and kill are very comprehensive, which can greatly improve the combat capability of Jin Bin. As for why the masked man has so many water escape ninjutsu, the reason is simple. During the period when Uchiha took soil to control the 4th generation of water shadows, the masked man can read things like the Book of Seals in Wyan Village, so he naturally wrote down a lot of water escape ninjutsu. Not only this general purpose water escape ninjutsu, but also the various water escape secret techniques of Wyan Village, the masked man also knows very well. Therefore, he can continue to make a lot of money in Jin here, which can be said to be a stable source of income. After taking the money, the masked man parted ways with Jin. As for what will happen to Kim and after this incident, the masked man is not worried. For a character like Jin Bin, even if the evidence is conclusive, it is difficult to get him to jail. After all, Jin Bin's various connections are there. After separating with Jin, the masked man went home. So at this moment, Wu Chen was very happy. Although the pain on the back is unbearable, it is also quite rewarding. He sank his consciousness into the system space and saw his system panel. Host: Wu Chen. Current character: not played. Current play progress: none. Owned characters: the 4th generation of Naruto Hakodate 55%, the mysterious masked man Uchiha Ododo 35%. Number of times to play the character: 0. Character selection ability: 4 generations of Hokage Wave Fengshouman 0. Sure enough, as he expected, Bo Feng Shuaman saved the Hell's Kitchen, rescued the agents, and indirectly saved New York City, completed the tasks entrusted by S.H.I.E.L.D., and increased a lot of playing progress. You know, more than 50%, the difficulty of increasing the progress of the role has been greatly improved. Now a wave has directly increased the playing progress by nearly 5%. As for Uchiha's belt soil, let alone, it jumped directly from 25% to 35%, improving the performance progress by 10%. Sure enough, a small fight is not as big as a big event. It seems like this is the best way to increase the progress of the role according to the goal of the character, and then make a big event. Wu Chen is quite emotional, this is not letting himself make trouble. However, it's cool to mess up. It feels great to play with everyone in the palm of your hand and become stronger. Excited, Wu Chen felt that his back didn't hurt anymore. Taking a deep breath and calming down, Wu Chen opened the mall and checked his balance in the mall. 2,005 million yuan. The remuneration of S.H.I.E.L.D. for this mission of $500,000 and the remuneration of Nick Fury for the private mission of $1 million. Wu Chen has not yet taken it, so the balance is not displayed. However, what can be done with 20.5 million yuan? Wu Chen looked at the options in the mall, unconsciously getting excited again. Then Wu Chen fell asleep. Under the combined effect of the anti-fatigue medicine and the injuries on his body, Wu Chen couldn't hold back his sleepiness and fell asleep directly. Wait for him to wake up refreshed and handsome the next day, and then continue with the unfinished things last night. Opening the system mall, Wu Chen began to think about his level of demand for the 4 products in the mall. Arms: no shortage. There is no shortage of weapons in Heifeng Mizuno, and the Uchiha fan with soil is completely enough, so weapon forging repair is excluded. Summon people. This can be. However, he cannot be the summoner of Uchiha. Because the person who will be summoned with soil has been determined, that is Lin Yi Yuan. The system reminded Wu Chen that a character can only summon a person close to him. Once summoned, unless the summoning card is damaged, it cannot be re-summoned. Therefore, only the relatives and friends of Bo Feng Shuiman can be summoned. But there are more relatives and friends of Bo Feng Shuiman, his wife Uzumaki Kushina, son Uzumaki Naruto, disciple Kakashi Hagi, and Master Jiraiya. These can all be summoned. Of these 4 people, apart from Naruto who may be in a juvenile state and has no effect, the other 3 are very useful. At least better than Rin Nohara. This is great, it is hard power. Nohara Lin is just an ordinary ninja. In terms of strength alone, assuming that Naruto is not in his infancy, even the early Naruto will have a higher combat power than Yi Yuan Lin. Even though Nohara Lin knows some medical ninjutsu, but the level of power is average, and when Wu Chen shook hands with Nohara Lin that day with the appearance of soil, he found that there were no 3 tails in Nohara Lin. In this way, among the characters that can be summoned now, Lin Nohara is the weakest. However, it does not matter if the strength is weak. That's enough. Read more at Yi Yuan. Lin summoned only one effect, that is to fall in love with Dai Tu, crossed out chat to relieve boredom and enlighten Dai Tu. As long as this is done, the progress of playing with the soil will be improved, and you will earn blood. Therefore, Wu Chen summoned Yi Yuan Lin not because of her strength, but because of her importance to bringing soil. From this point of view alone, Lin Nohara is very powerful. After all, other people are dispensable, or can be used or killed for bringing soil. The summoned character with soil has been determined. Leaving aside, there are 4 options for the summoned character of Bofeng Shuamen. Although there were choices, Wu Chen didn't bother with this. Because the characters to be summoned are random and cannot be selected, no matter which person may appear, it is good to leave $1.1 million as the summoning fund. Next, random treasure chest of 10,000 realms. This can also be present. You know, Wu Chen can now get in touch with Tony Stark because of the cooking series items opened in the random treasure chest of the 10,000 realms. Otherwise, how could he come into contact with the famous Iron Man? And also reached a more friendly relationship. And the reason why he wanted to contact Tony Stark, of course, was because Wu Chen wanted to receive commissions from Tony to gain progress in the role. Wu Chen hasn't forgotten that by accepting tasks from superheroes to complete commissions, he will get a lot more progress than ordinary people. As for how to use this relationship then, that's very simple. As long as Wu Chen acts as an intermediary, a brief introduction is enough. For example, Wu Chen told Tony that he happened to meet someone who was able to treat Tony's injury, so out of friends' concerns, he recommended Tony to give it a try. Although Tony Stark is bitter and mean, he is generally generous to the friends he recognizes. Now Wu Chen is still a little bit close, so he needs to keep working hard. Perhaps before long, Wu Chen, a young Chinese who sells hamburgers, became a true friend of Iron Man. At that time, the story of Iron Man 2 happened. Tony was already poisoned and ordinary medical treatment was useless, but Wu Chen brought a life-saving straw. This wave can not only get the progress of the performance, but also earned Tony's favorability. Steady profit but no loss. As for whether the person recommended by Wu Chen is capable of curing Tony. Ordinary medical methods cannot cure Tony's symptoms, but medical ninjutsu or other medical supplies from the world should be able to cure Tony. Many people are proficient in medical ninjutsu. Konoha are the villains in other organizations. Even if it is difficult to draw a character who masters medical ninjutsu in the follow-up, you can also use the wish card or this random treasure chest to draw medical supplies from other worlds, so that Tony Stark can be cured. Therefore, random treasure boxes of 10,000 realms can be drawn. As for the wish card, needless to say, the effect of realizing a wish within a limited range will be greater, and Wu Chen will certainly not rule it out. After thinking about it again and again, Wu Chen decided to call Bofeng Shuamen's relatives and friends first, and then talk about other things. So, spending 100,000 to refresh the summoning card, and then playing the role of Bofeng Shuamen, Wu Chen clicked on the option to redeem the summoning card. 1 million yuan. A blue card without any logo appeared in Wu Chen's hand. Throw the card onto the open space in front of you, and then a blue light burst out. In the next second, a figure walked out of the blue light, and then rushed directly into the arms of Bofeng Shuamen played by Wu Chen, Shuamen. This voice exudes the unique charm and coquettishness of a girl in love, but listens carefully and feels full of air, as if the speaker is a female man. The long burgundy hair is soft and cute, underneath are the delicate and cute facial features, and a pair of black eyes are full of love and dependence on Bofeng Shuamen. There is a hairpin pinned to the left bun, and the left wrist wears a brace. His height is about 1 meter and 65. A white dress and gray apron completely envelops the beautiful figure, but the soft body lines have this one fact as undoubtedly exposed. The lordosis and back warping are particularly attractive. This is Uzumaki Kushina, the mother of Naruto's protagonist Uzumaki Naruto, and the wife of Mizuno Nami. Haofeng Mizuno and Uzumaki Kushina have experienced a lot together, and finally they like each other, and then they get married. Looking at Ju Zinai's current state, she should have been newly married to Bofeng Shuamen not long ago. However, Wu Chen looked down at Ju Zinai's gesture at the moment, but his expression was a bit awkward. slowly stretched out his hand and pushed Uzumaki Jushinai away from his arms. Before Wu Chen could say anything, he saw Uzumaki Jushinai's exquisite face full of grievances, and tears seemed to come out. Pratinam, don't you like me? The question is not whether I like you or not, but I am not Watergate at all. Wu Chen complained inwardly, but he was very careful under his hands. I just want to take a closer look at you. After that, he embraced Jushinai again. I have to say that Uzumaki Kushina is really comfortable to hold. Soft, fragrant, warm, hot, it would be better if there is no guilt. Sweet words dispelled Ju Zinai's unhappiness, and then she lay down in Wu Chen's arms, babbling various words. Read more at from what Ju Zinai said. Wu Chen knew that she was in the same situation as Yu Yuanlin, who knew her current state, where she was, and the words of the person who called her out. This made Wu Chen a little relieved. After sinking his consciousness into the system space, Wu Chen saw the progress of Bo Feng Shuiman's performance. 58%. If I remember correctly, it was still 55% last night. So, Ju Zinai Yuba Fengshauman can also play the role of Nohara Linyu with soil. However, Ju Zinai's role is not only flirting with Bo Feng Shuiman, she is also a full combat power. There is one thing to say, Ju Zinai's strength is super. After exiting the system space, Wu Chen chakra entered Jushinai's body and detected that there was no 9 tails in Jushinai's body, which was also consistent with Yu Yuanlin's situation. But unlike Yu Yuanlin, even if there is no tail beast in her body, Kushina is very strong. She herself is a powerful person at the upper end of the line. With the unique sealing technique of the Whirlpool clan, her combat power is very powerful. Her fighting strength is evident from the fact that she was pierced through the abdomen by the 9 tails during the Kyubi rebellion, and when she was about to die, she was able to easily subdue the complete 9 tails with the sealing technique King Kong blockade. Sealing. Speaking of this, Wu Chen suddenly popped out of his mind a way to use 9 Zinai. That was when the 9 tails rebellion was staged in New York. Let Kushina seal the 9 tails into the body of the Watergate that he played. Bofeng Watergate becomes the pillar of the 9 tails. Will that improve the progress of the role? It is very possible. Originally, Wu Chen planned to seal 9 tails in New York City after the 9 tails rebellion in New York. After all, Wu Chen's progress in the role of Bo Feng Shuiman had not reached 100%, and he could not master the sealing technique of Bo Feng Shuiman. But now it's alright, Uzumaki Jushina, the seal tycoon, has come, so Wu Chen can completely make the wave of wind Watergate that he plays as a 9-tailed man. As for why the original 9-tailed pillar strength of Ju Shinai is not allowed to become a pillar strength again, the reason is very simple. For every 20 minutes of Ju Shinai's existence, it costs $1 million. Let her appear. What she breathed was ordinary air, and what she breathed was money spent in vain. Chatting with Ju Zinai for a while, Wu Chen watched Ju Zinai finally turn into a blue light, turning into a card, and falling into Wu Chen's hands. It's a pity, Wu Chen shook his head, because the play progress of Bo Feng Shuiman has increased by 1%, and only 1 percentage point can reach 60%. This allows Wu Chen to choose Bo Feng Shuiman again. The boundary point of ability. However, don't worry, I will get him 60% today. Wu Chen is full of confidence. As long as he does the task entrusted by S.H.I.E.L.D., he will definitely increase his performance by 1% if he has to work overtime. Changing back to his appearance, Wu Chen made breakfast for himself. After eating, he used the shadow avatar technique to separate 2 shadow avatars and let them play the roles of Heifeng Mizuman and Uchiha Dado. Next, it's time to get on with business. Chapter 61. Wu Chen's so-called business is to collect money from S.H.I.E.L.D., complete the transaction with Golden Union, and continue to collect Tony Stark's favorability. Because there is no fighting, and there is nothing to pay attention to, Wu Chen chose to let the 2 clones play the roles of Cheng Ha Feng Shui Men and Uchiha. Then Bo Feng Shuiman went to S.H.I.E.L.D. to collect money, and ran a wave of quests, raising the progress of the performance to 60%. While Uchiha brought the soil to Jinwei, he taught Jin and mastered the 5 water escape ninjutsu. As for yourself, go to get Iron Man's favorability. Of course, you can also experience the fun of setting up a stall by the way, and see what happened last night and what kind of repercussions it had among the citizens of New York. The tasks were arranged, and the 3 Wu Chens took action. Heifeng Mizuno and Uchiha brought the soil to disappear into the room automatically by means, while Wu Chen slowly pulled out the trolley, and then pushed the trolley out of the door. Walking on the road, because he was not far from the Hell's Kitchen, Wu Chen pretended to be surprised. He stared from a distance at the Hell's Kitchen block, which was still in wisps of smoke, and asked the pedestrians around him, "Hell's Kitchen? What happened there?" The person asked was surprised. He was a black man, don't you know? There was such a big movement last night. Wu Chen shook his head. I went to bed early last night, and the sound insulation at home is better, so can this handsome guy tell me what happened? Perhaps it was Wu Chen's handsome guy that pleased the other party. The black man took out his cell phone and let Wu Chen play a video. The video was shot from a long distance, and the content is the second half of the process of the masked man's release of fire escape ninjutsu last night, which burned the entire Hell's Kitchen and battled with the water gate. After Wu Chen watched it, he didn't believe it. Is this what movie special effects? How can human beings do this? Seeing that Wu Chen didn't believe him, the black man was immediately angry. He stretched out his hand to hold Wu Chen's shoulder, pointed his finger at the smoking Hell's Kitchen, and said loudly, "Man, how do you explain this scene? Those firefighters are still cleaning the embers. Also, do you see where the flame burns in this video is exactly the same as the smoke now? I tell you, this is not a movie special effect, this is what I saw with my own eyes. Read more at that bad guy with a black robe and mask is not our golden glitter opponent at all." Sure enough, he was finally defeated by the golden glitter. While playing the video to Wu Chen, the black man emphasized the authenticity of his words, and couldn't help but yelled out, "The golden glitter is awesome. Bo Feng Shui Men is invincible. By the way, have you seen the video of Golden Flash debut? I will show it to you." Wu Chen watched the whole process with a smile on his face, and finally nodded, confirming that what the black man said was true. At this time, the black man was satisfied. Seeing Wu Chen was going to push the cart to set up the stall, he took the initiative to help, drove his pickup, and pulled the cart to a short distance in front of the Stark building. Seeing the black man waving his hand and driving away, Wu Chen was quite happy. I didn't expect to meet my own fans. This black man named Mike is a full water fan. The reason is that when Wu Chen played Bo Feng Shui Men for the first time, there was this Mike in the man saved from his hatred. The life-saving grace was unrequited, so Mike began to help maintain and promote the popularity of Bo Feng Shuiman or something. Last night, the sound of the fighting between the two woke up Mike, who lives not far from the Hell's Kitchen. He hurried out to check the situation and was fortunate enough to film those videos. Today, he intends to use these videos to preach, so that more people like the superhero Golden Glitter. For people who like him, Wu Chen can't hate him anyway. However, just this Watergate fan cannot explain the true attitude of New Yorkers to what happened last night. Therefore, in the process of setting up a stall to sell delicious crab roe croissant, Wu Chen asked each customer 2 questions one by one. Do you know what happened at Hell's Kitchen last night? Who do you think is right or wrong? Most of the answers I got were not so clear. I only knew that there was a fire. Obviously, the official force has taken action. The few people who knew it answered like this: the masked man is evil, thanks to the golden glitter for preventing the masked man from continuing to do evil. From this point of view, everything I have done has some effect. With this in mind, Wu Chen was satisfied and continued to sell burgers with peace of mind. But what he didn't know was that when he asked about what happened in Hell's Kitchen, he was told to Tony Stark by Harpy, who came to get the delicious crab rooster. As a superhero, Iron Man Tony Stark naturally pays attention to the situation in his city. The Golden Flash suddenly appeared 2 days ago. At that time, Tony had something to deal with and couldn't make contact in time. But last night the Golden Glitter and the other masked man actually made such a big movement. It was not because Tony didn't pay attention to it. Who are these 2 people and what are they doing in New York? This is Tony's doubts. With doubts in his mind, Tony started investigating through his information network. Even the ordinary Watergate fan Mike can capture such a clear battle process. Tony, who has mastered many high-tech technologies, wants to understand what happened last night and even before. Naturally, it is even simpler. After watching and analyzing the video in detail, Tony came to a point similar to that of ordinary informed citizens. Golden Glitter is a good person and a superhero worth making friends with. This can be seen from his killing of wanton hatred and defeating Hulk, who was frantic and wanton destruction. Not to mention the situation last night. If he hadn't defeated the man in the black robe and mask, the subsequent situation could have been worse. As for the newly appearing man with a black robe and mask, he is an absolute villain. Acting unscrupulously, relying on his powerful superpowers, he directly burned a few blocks. No matter what he did, Tony was very angry with such an approach. Because of official concealment and other reasons, Tony didn't know the existence of chakra and ninjutsu. He thought that the abilities of Masked Man and Bo Feng Shuiman were just superpowers. Becoming a superhero, Tony believes that he should assume the responsibility of a superhero. Last night, because I did something more energy-consuming with Xiaojiao, I slept more deadly. I didn't notice the big event in Hell's Kitchen, but I can't do that anymore. Tony secretly made up his mind to create a device that could monitor the entire New York City and even the entire world. For example, launch a few of your own private satellites into the sky, so that you can use satellite maps to locate and explore various things. In that case, Tony can immediately find out where and what happened, and then go to deal with it as soon as possible. Maybe you can call the Golden Glitter together at that time, and his speed is also very fast. We formed a team of superheroes to help the weak and the strong together. It's very interesting to think about it. However, before that, you have to look for and deal with the man in the black robe and mask. Read more at If such a dangerous person is left alone, it is likely to hurt Little Pepper. After all, the Stark building is not too far from Hell's Kitchen. Tony is actually not a complete good person. He only became Iron Man not long. At this time, although his thoughts have changed, to him, the people around him are far more important than others. If Pepper and an unknown stranger are in danger at the same time, Tony can only save one at a time, and the other will die because he did not help, then Tony will not hesitate to save Pepper instead of that one. Strangers who have little to do with themselves. At this stage, what Tony really wants to protect is the people around him. Out of the desire to protect Little Pepper, Tony began to think, should he also get a steel suit for Little Pepper? However, without thinking about this idea too much, Tony put it aside for the time being, and talked about it later when he was free. The most urgent thing is how to find that dangerous person. The black robe masked man seems to have the same spatial ability as the Bo Feng Shui men, and he is fascinating. In addition, he hides his true appearance. If he does not take the initiative to come out, no one will be able to find him. In this way, he can only be found through other people. Others. Tony's eyes lit up and he thought of Jin Bin. Tony has also heard of Jin Bin. This is a very capable person, whether it is on the underworld or on the White Road. According to last night's video, it seems that Kim and the black robe masked man have a deep connection. Whether it is a cooperative relationship or an affiliation relationship, this shows that if you want to find a black robe masked man, it is most likely to start from Jinwei's side. However, even for a powerful person like Tony, it is not easy for him to make money. Raising his hand and pressing his forehead, Tony felt that this matter had to be discussed long-term. By the way, why haven't my delicious crab waffle fort been ready? Tony wanted to eat something upset. At this time, Happy finally came back, carrying 4 packaged delicious crab rooster burgers with cheese. Tony quickly took one away, and took a big bite. No matter how many times I eat, the delicious crab rooster is worthy of the word, delicious. Then Tony saw the way Harpy was hesitant to speak, and waved his hand, eat if you want, you are among the 4. But Harpy shook his head, boss, you know I don't like burgers very much. What's wrong with you? Saying it makes me happy. Happy narrowed his mouth. He didn't care too much about his boss's spiteful taste, but truthfully informed Tony, Wu Chen's move just now. Yeah, Tony immediately noticed something unusual. Even if he is concerned about what happened last night, he doesn't have to ask about it repeatedly. He immediately glanced at Harpy, and he could see a meaning in each other's eyes. This stall owner has a problem. For one thing, Tony still has a good impression of Wu Chen, a Chinese young man selling hamburgers. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to trade with Wu Chen to help him upgrade the dining car. By the way, the new dining car is ready, and Tony is always very efficient when it comes to mechanics. Originally, he planned to let Harpy deliver the dining car to Wu Chen at noon today. But now, he changed his mind. He wants to send it to Wu Chen himself, and then take a good look at the details of this young hamburger. If it is really related to the masked man, then find the masked man through this Hamburg youth. Thinking of this, Tony's expression is very serious, and there is also a murderous feeling. Ever since, sitting in the office on the top floor of the Stark building, Tony remotely observes Wu Chen, who is busy with high-tech equipment. After a while, he was thoughtful. It seems that it is not related to the black robe masked man. In this case, it is the Bofeng Water Gate. Although there is no smiling face to each customer, he is sincere and open when asking questions. When he looks at others, his eyes are not evasive. Whether there is a ghost in the heart can be roughly judged from the many small differences in behavior. Of course, the most important thing is that Tony sees Wu Chen handing over the delicious crab roast burger to customers. When customers are impatiently picking them up and eating, he feels a sense of accomplishment from the inside out. Tony is familiar with this sense of accomplishment, which is only when he has made a satisfactory work. Obviously, this young hamburger is a person who really loves Hamburg. How could such a person be a bad person? Since it is not a bad person and has not been coerced by others, there is an abnormal situation, and there is a high probability that it is implicated in the good party. In the Hell's Kitchen war last night, isn't the good side the Bofeng Water Gate? Read more at After Tony thought. He felt that he hadn't missed anything, and at the same time he put his vigilance on Wu Chen again. But at this moment, with a click, the door of the office was opened. People who enter Tony's room without knocking, and Tony will not be angry about it. There may be only one person in the world, and that is Tony's personal assistant, the president of the Future Stark Collective, Pepper Potts. With the folder in his hand, Pepper Potts pushed in, "Tony, have you processed all the previous documents? Several departments are still waiting for you." Then, she saw the scene where Tony was closely monitoring Wu Chen, a young hamburger buyer downstairs. "Oh my God, Tony, what are you doing?" Little Chili had an inexplicable sense of being green, and couldn't help shouting, "I never knew you were also interested in men." After hearing this, Happy, who followed Xiaojiao into the office, was taken aback, and then subconsciously reached out and covered his ass. "I didn't." Tony was taken aback, reacting to the meaning of Little Pepper's words, and quickly explained, "Little Pepper, this person may be in some condition, so I'm just looking at whether he is credible." At the same time, he said to Happy dissatisfiedly, "Happy, you should know what I'm talking about." Harpy backed away in shock. I don't know anything." "You fool, I mean Wu may be involved with Bofeng Shuaman, what are you thinking? Even if I find a man, I can't find you." Originally Tony didn't want to involve Pepper in this kind of thing, but now he can't explain it without telling the truth, and he has no choice but to showdown. Only then did Harpy realize that he had misunderstood. "However, how do I feel offended by the boss?" Happy thought silently. With Harpy's testimony, Tony finally confirmed that what he said was true, and at the same time kept his. "Then you can contact him, there will be no problem." Little Chili grabbed Tony by the skirt of his clothes worriedly. "If there is a danger, let Harpy go and contact him." "Harpy." Tony raised his eyebrows proudly at Harpy, then shook his head, "Don't worry. It's okay. Even if he has a problem, he can't hurt me. I will go with Harpy. Harpy will take my steel battle clothes." "Huh, your steel suit is so big and heavy, Harpy isn't so hard, right?" Little Chili was curious. A triumphant look appeared on Tony's face. "I developed the new Mark series armor, which looks like a suitcase. It is very light and turns into a steel armor when used, which is very convenient." After calming the Little Pepper, Tony started to work. By the end of his work, Wu Chen happened to sell enough for 100 burgers. Seeing this scene, Tony immediately asked Happy to go down to stabilize Wu Chen, while he went to the underground garage and drove out the dining car. At this moment, Wu Chen is packing up his things, and today is another day to sell the perfect flavor crab roe croissant. A sense of accomplishment. There is a saying, if the world is peaceful and there is no danger, then setting up a stall and selling hamburgers is a good way of life. Not only make money, but also make life full of meaning. Looking at the satisfied smiling faces of those who have eaten their own burgers, Wu Chen feels that this is meaningful. The tidying up of the trolley is very simple, and Wu Chen will do it in twos. After packing, he plans to buy some ingredients on the road and go back to make himself a lunch. Wu Chen also has some cooking skills. Of course, the important thing is not what to eat at noon, but what to do after going back. Before Wu Chen came to set up the stall today, he wanted to sell hamburgers while opening random treasure chests from the world. After all, the treasure chest is on the system panel and no one else can see it. And because I have a lot of money left, it's best to turn it into something practical. Thinking this way, his abacus played loudly, but he didn't expect that in the process of selling burgers, he had no time to open the system panel and open the treasure box. Because there are too many customers, too enthusiastic, Wu Chen didn't have any free time, so he was busy all morning. Although very busy, but also fulfilling, I have a sense of accomplishment. Now that the burgers are sold out and you can go home, it will naturally be necessary to accomplish what was previously planned but not done. So he plans to open the treasure chest immediately after going home for dinner. This is the same as Krypton Gold: charge money, open the box, test the European gas, and then win the jackpot. Invincible in the Marvel world, no more effort in the future. Thinking of this, Wu Chen's heart was hot, and his movements became a little anxious. But just when he was about to push the cart to leave, he grabbed the cart with both hands. "Hey, Wu, is this sold out and ready to close the stall?" Happy looked at Wu Chen blankly and said his daily greetings. "Oh, Happy, is there anything going on?" Wu Chen was not at all afraid of Harpy's wicked look, and replied as usual. This kind of confidence is not only because Wu Chen has the strength, but also because he knows Happy's nature. Read more at "This guy looks fierce on the surface, but in fact he is a silly person." This simple term is not a derogatory term, but a simple and lovely abbreviation. Happy is indeed such a person. For the past 2 days, Harpy came to fetch the burgers every day, and Harpy has become familiar with Wu Chen. Coupled with the memory of Wu Chen's previous life, he is very clear about Happy's nature. Seeing Wu Chen's carefree look, Happy felt a little dissatisfied. "I rely on my face anyway. Oh no, I rely on the bodyguard of the imposing manner. You are a little scared and respect my professional image, okay?" On the surface, he still looks like a cold bodyguard. He thinks he himself. "Wu, are you leaving in a hurry?" Happy grasped the point. He just saw Wu Chen move a little anxiously. Wu Chen scratched his head. "It is true, I am hungry, so I plan to go back to eat, then take a lunch break, then have afternoon tea, and then watch TV to sleep at night." "You guy." Harpy immediately gritted his teeth. This kind of life is what he has always wanted. However, this explanation was reasonable, and Happy did not chase him. He explained a little why he stopped Wu Chen. "My boss has completed the agreement with you, and he is driving the dining car here." Hearing this, Wu Chen immediately lit up, and went home in no hurry. That's it. Although setting up stalls and selling hamburgers is a sideline, Wu Chen is very happy with this sideline, and he is naturally willing to do better. After waiting for a few minutes with Happy, Wu Chen heard the sound of a car. Turning his head and looking over, Tony was driving a minivan towards this side. This truck is silver white and looks very beautiful. There are large models of delicious crab roe burgers on the roof, marking the real identity of the truck, the hamburger restaurant truck. Cool. As soon as Tony walked down, he saw Wu Chen looking at the dining car with bright eyes. No man dislikes cars. As long as it is his own car, even a dining car, the owner will love it very much. Seeing this, Tony smiled immediately. "How is it?" "My design is okay." Then he introduced to Wu Chen the functions of the dining car: what automatic driving, what one-key deformation referring to the closed compartment at the rear, both sides can be opened to become a mobile dining car, what GPS and WeChat navigation, what anti-terrorism device, and so on. Ah, anti-terrorism device. Wu Chen looked at Tony in surprise, while Tony explained with a serious face, "This country can't help guns, so you need to have the power to protect yourself. Once you are in danger, you can hide in the car. Press this button, and the burger on the roof will turn into an automatic machine gun. The system in the car will determine the units that threaten you to the car, and then perform shooting and other solutions." Wu Chen heard black lines on his face, but he had to agree that it really needed this. After all, people of color really need to protect themselves in this country where guns are indispensable and racial discrimination is everywhere. For this, he expressed his gratitude to Tony, although he has the power to protect himself. Seeing Wu Chen elated, Tony glanced at Harpy, and Harpy nodded and picked up the red gold suitcase he was carrying with him. Wu, I have a question I want to ask you. Tony looked at Wu Chen intently with a serious expression. This made Wu Chen, who was happy, stunned for a moment, and then looked at Tony with the same solemnity. Tony's attitude made Wu Chen realize that he came here today not just to deliver the food truck. I want to come, too. Tony Stark, the superhero Iron Man, the billionaire, the head of the Stark Group, such a busy person, how can he come over to deliver the dining car to himself in his leisure, and his thoughtful explain it. So there must be something. I was too happy just now because I had my own dining car, so I didn't notice this. Now that he noticed, he naturally corrected his mentality. If you don't want to give up Tony's relationship, Wu Chen will naturally not be angry because of Tony's attitude and react excessively. Moreover, he felt that Tony would not hurt himself. After all, Tony was a superhero after all. Of course, the most important thing is that Wu Chen doesn't think Tony can hurt himself. After all, even if he doesn't play a character, Wu Chen is very strong. So many days of cultivation are not in vain. With confidence in his heart, Wu Chen will be able to face the problem better. So he responded correctly. Mr. Stark, what is your question? Seeing that Wu Chen didn't panic under his own momentum, he responded instead, which made Tony more determined. There was no ghost in Wu Chen's heart, and he had nothing to do with the masked man. After all, the name of his own Iron Man, ordinary citizens are so rebellious, even if they are not their own fans, they will be a little nervous in the face of themselves. When a person is nervous, many flaws will be exposed, and Tony can see it at a glance. A reaction like Wu Chen's can't be done unless he is open-minded. Thinking about this, Tony's tone softened slightly. What I want to ask is, do you have something to do with Bo Feng Shuiman? Huh, why would you ask like that? Wu Chen was a little surprised. This question was indeed beyond his expectation. Why does Tony ask that? Read more at Did he know that I played Bo Feng Shuiman? Wu Chen couldn't help but start thinking about whether to kill Tony to prevent this secret from leaking out. Seeing that Wu Chen did not deny, but asked himself, Tony heaved a sigh of relief. He motioned to Harpy to put down his suitcase, and then explained, I heard Harpy say that you kept asking about what happened in Hell's Kitchen today, so it's a bit strange. So I blew you up. I didn't expect you to really have something to do with Bo Feng Shuiman. It turned out to be exposed here. Wu Chen was a little embarrassed. He grasped his claws and prepared to condense the spiral pill. Chakra's control ability has improved. Yesterday, Wu Chen, the shadow avatar who sells burgers, has tried it, and he can successfully use the spiral pill. At this distance, without wearing a steel suit, a spiral pill is enough to kill Tony. Wu Chen has made a decision. In order to keep his secret, kill Tony with tears. But Tony came over and put his arms around Wu Chen's shoulders and said, Wu, you know, I am a rich man and a superhero, so sometimes I want to communicate with my peers. So, can you help me ask Bo Feng Shuiman if he wants to meet me? I want to ask him something. By the way, I'm not letting you pass the word in vain. I will help you keep this secret. Harpy hasn't heard anything. Tony turned his head and looked at Harpy. Right. Harpy. Happy nodded helplessly. Hearing this, Wu Chen's tense spirit relaxed. Tony came here with kindness. He was not what Wu Chen thought. He knew that the Bo Feng Shuiman was played by Wu Chen. He just thought that the Bo Feng Shuiman had something to do with Wu Chen. In this way, the biggest secret is not exposed, and there is naturally no need to kill people. It turns out I was thinking too much. Wu Chen was a little embarrassed. However, Tony's doing this is exactly what Wu Chen meant. He had planned to wait until he had a good relationship with Tony, and then introduce Bo Feng Shuiman or other people to see Tony and collect the progress of the performance from him. It's all right now. Tony delivered it straight to the door. Of course, Wu Chen had no reason to refuse. Therefore, he nodded, I can help you spread the word, but it doesn't matter if Master Watergate will come. Master. Tony looked surprised. Wu, is Bo Feng Shuiman your teacher? The master means the teacher, but the inheritance is deeper. Teachers and students, masters and apprentices. This is the relationship between Wu Chen and Bo Feng Shuiman that Wu Chen has eagerly arranged for himself. Wu Chen owns chakra and can also use ninjutsu. If it is not revealed, then naturally there is nothing to worry about. But now that Tony knows that he is connected with Bo Feng Shuimin, instead of letting him guess the relationship, it is better to tell him a clear relationship. Wu Chen mastered chakra and learned ninjutsu, not to pretend to be forceful in front of people, he just wanted to increase his self-protection ability. But others don't know. Even Tony, at first thought he was in the same group as the masked man. Not to mention other people, they might think that Wu Chen is a member of the secret forces. Therefore, for his own safety, Wu Chen had to explain the source of his strength. Then what could be better than, I have the talent, ninjutsu is taught by Bo Feng Shuimin. In this way, you can openly let Bo Feng Shuimin protect yourself and complete the two-line operation. There are so many benefits. Wu Chen nodded. Master Watergate is indeed my teacher. By the way, Mr. Stark, aren't you curious why I, an ordinary citizen who buys hamburgers, can be related to a superhero like Master Watergate? Tony opened his eyes wide. Of course I am curious, but this is your privacy. Even if we are friends, I can't ask. Although he said so, Tony's expression has it all. Wu Chen grinned. The goal of becoming friends with Tony Stark, which I always thought would take a while to be achieved, has now been achieved so easily. It's really, intentionally planting flowers but not blooming, unintentionally planting willows and willows to create shade. The reason for my contact with Master Watergate is very simple. Wu Chen began to flicker. Tony, since you said we are friends, it doesn't matter if I call you like this. It's all right. Anxious to hear the story, Tony waved his hand indifferently. Wu Chen continued. Tony, you should know that you hate things that ravaged the streets of New York some time ago, right? I know. At that time, I was also there, and then Master Watergate saved me. Wu Chen said, with a look of reminiscence in his eyes, which was extremely real. In the process of saving me, Master Watergate found that I have a chakra talent, so I killed Abomination, and after defeating Hulk, he found me. What is chakra? Tony asked. You don't want to interrupt and ask questions after I finish talking. Wu Chen glared at Tony and continued. I was shocked at the time, but because it was the request of a lifesaver, I worshipped him as a teacher. Even though he is of the same age, Master Watergate is super powerful. He is also very careful and serious. Even though I am a little stupid, he was not angry when he taught me. Read more at for so many days, under the guidance of Master Watergate, I have mastered chakra, also learned a few ninjutsu, and have the ability to protect myself. So Tony, the anti-terrorist machine gun you designed for me on the dining car is not practical. Tony didn't care about Wu Chen's complaints, but directly asked, 2 questions, what is chakra? What is ninjutsu? Chakra is the extraordinary power mastered by the ninjas including Master Watergate. You can understand it as the magical power of a magician. Ninjutsu is the use of the extraordinary skills of chakra, which is analogous to a magician. The magic used by magicians. It turned out not to be a superpower. Tony muttered to himself, but he still didn't fully believe it. Wu, can you prove it? I want to see what chakra and ninjutsu are. Wu Chen nodded, of course it can. But it's not convenient here. He turned his head and looked around. There were already some melon-eating people holding up their phones and preparing to take pictures. I don't want to lose my current peaceful life because I have mastered extraordinary power. If you have a hidden, secluded place, I can show it a little bit, a bit. In order to convince Tony, Wu Chen was willing to give it up. Seeing Wu Chen said this, Tony also understood his concerns. After all, not everyone wants to be like him. While being a superhero, he also proactively blew himself up. Happy. Look at the dining car and give me the suitcase. Wu, come with me. Afterwards, Wu Chen followed Tony into the Stark building and took the elevator to the 3-level underground parking lot. The cars here belong to my house, so no outsiders will come in. You can show them here. As soon as he entered, Tony Hao's inhumane speech almost caused Wu Chen to have a myocardial infarction. Looking around, there are dozens of luxury cars. Even if Wu Chen doesn't pay much attention to the brand of the car, he can still feel that these cars are expensive at this moment. He raised his hand and pinched the bridge of his nose. Give it a target. I can't use ninjutsu directly at the air, right? By the way, I can show the application of chakra first. After all, Wu Chen attached chakras to the soles of the feet, then walked up the wall, and finally hung upside down on the high ceiling of the parking lot. Tony was shocked. Wu, you come down first, I want to check your shoes. After the inspection, Tony was even more surprised. Is there really chakras? And chakras can still play like this? Wu, see if I have the talent to practice chakras. Wu Chen waved his hand. I will show you ninjutsu again. Do you have any goals? Tony pointed to the wall. This wall is pretty strong. Wu Chen shrugged, condensed the spiral pill, and then patted the wall hard. Shattering. A huge hemispherical pothole was punched out of the flat wall, which looked a little beautiful. Is this ninjutsu? Tony was even more surprised. This kind of power is stronger than my particle cannon. Wu, see if I have any talents. Unable to confound Tony, Wu Chen checked, and he put his chakra into Tony's body. After a while, Wu Chen shook his head. Sorry, Tony, you don't have the talent to practice chakra. This is a matter of course. In fact, if there is no chakra seed, no one in the Marvel world has the talent to cultivate chakra. Because chakra is a product of the sacred tree, it must have the bloodline of the big tube wood. In the worst case, at least it must be from Hokage world. Otherwise, it must be mastered with the help of foreign objects, chakra seeds. That's how Jin, and that's it. Seeing Wu Chen say this, Tony was a little disappointed. When he was investigating his talents in Wu Chen, he had already imagined in his mind that he added chakra to the design of the steel suit and upgraded his steel suit. Even if you don't use it like this, you can use it directly. It's not bad to release ninjutsu like Wu. After all, extraordinary power is what everyone desires. Even when they were young, if a choice was placed in front of everyone to make everyone a Superman or a scientist with a high IQ, most people would choose to become a Superman. Although disappointed, Tony didn't mean to anger Wu Chen. After all, things like talent and incompetent rage are useless. The proof of this point, Tony has seen from countless people who are jealous of his talents. Although he cannot possess the magical power called chakra, this does not prevent Tony from detecting chakra. Under Tony's instructions, Wu Chen condensed chakra and made various applications. For example, the jumping ability has increased, the strength has increased, and even the eyesight has slightly improved. This kind of performance made Tony's curiosity about chakra become more and more, and it was finally difficult to restrain it. Wu, can you let me feel chakra? Tony looked at Wu Chen, eyes full of desire. Wu Chen was a little uncomfortable with this look, but considering that he wanted to take the trustee, he finally nodded. So Tony stretched out his palm. Wu Chen gathered chakra in his palm, and then put his hand on Tony's hand. This is chakra. It's kind of warm, Tony realized carefully. But at this moment, the elevator in the underground garage suddenly opened, and Xiao Chili walked out of the elevator with his foot raised. Tony, Harpy said you didn't go. There is an important document here, look. Oh my god. Little Chili's mouth grew in horror. Tony. You actually did it to a man. You are not allowed to touch me again. Hearing Xiao Zhao screaming in horror, Wu Chen was taken aback, only to realize that his current posture with Tony was indeed a little passionate. He quickly put aside his hands, took 3 or 4 steps back, and looked at Tony warily. Tony was speechless. Wu, we were just exploring the chakra inside you, right? Why are you like this? After complaining about Wu Chen, he hurriedly came to Xiao Zhao and explained to her what had just happened. For a long time, after Wu Chen used chakra to condense the spiral pill in front of little Chili, Chili reluctantly believed Tony's explanation. By the way, Miss Potts, I hope you don't tell anyone about me. I want to live a peaceful and stable life. Wu Chen emphasized, while he looked at Tony. Tony shook his head, disagreeing with Wu Chen's concept. Wu, I think it is very suitable for us to form a hero team. If you need it, I can tailor a steel suit for you. Wu Chen opened his eyes wide, and he had to admit that he had such a momentary heartbeat. But considering that it would be easy to expose his true secrets by doing so, he firmly shook his head and refused. Seeing this, Tony knew that he couldn't force it, so he nodded. I'll keep it secret for you. However, if I need your help in anything, I hope you can do it. Tony is still reluctant to let go of Wu Chen's combat power. I will pay you a reward that will definitely satisfy you. Quote. Before understanding Wu Chen's strength, Tony would certainly not be like this. Now that he knows that Wu Chen is a little Superman who can use magic, but he can't fly. Of course he wants to win Wu Chen. Tony had said so, but Wu Chen couldn't refuse, so he agreed. In Wu Chen's simple concept. Free volunteers. No no no. Make money to help. Want it. If you give money, of course I can help you. Why do we call us friends? Saying goodbye to Tony, Wu Chen immediately followed Tony's sentence, remember to contact Bofeng Shuaman. And immediately start building. Happy was still guarding the dining car. Wu Chen asked him to help him lift the push dining cart to the mobile dining cart, and then set off. Tony, who had been captured by Pepper and returned to the office, looked at the leaving dining car from the window, with a serious expression. Seeing this, little Chili walked to Tony. Tony, don't you still think about Wu? Tony was speechless. How is it possible? Before he could say anything, he turned around, put his arms around little Pepper's slender waist, and bowed his head and kissed it. He directly proved with facts. Jiliang, the exchange of body fluids is over. Nestled in Tony's arms, little Chili's complexion was ruddy, and he asked inexplicably, then what do you care about Wu doing? It's because he has that power. Tony shook his head. Little Pepper, you don't understand. This kind of energy Kalchakra is powerful enough to subvert the world. But now, this power is not only owned by the good guys, but also by the bad guys. I am not paying attention to Wu, I am paying attention to the power of chakra and its owner. Back home, Wu Chen simply cooked himself lunch. After eating, he closed the doors and windows and was ready to open the treasure chest. Leave 3.6 million as the summoning fund first. 3.6 million can make the summoned person live 4 times, because whether it's Rin Nohara's card or Uzumaki Kushina's card, each charge requires 900,000. 4936. As a result, there are $15 million left. Enough. So Wu Chen went straight to 10 consecutive games. 1 million refresh costs, 1 million unpacking costs, 2 million disappear instantly. What replaced them were the 10 things in front of Wu Chen. 4 secret recipes, 3 cards, 2 stacks of banknotes, and a sword. After checking the introduction of these 10 things a little bit, Wu Chen immediately felt that this wave of 2 million blood was not a loss. The 4 secret recipes are all food secrets: 1 sliced fish flavored pork, 1 sliced sweet and sour pork loin, 1 sliced vinegar potato slices, and 1 sliced mapo tofu. The effect is similar to the secret recipe of delicious crab croissant. As long as you carry the secret recipe with you, and then follow the secret recipe, you can make delicious food for anyone to eat. However, for the secret recipe of 4 dishes, is this for me to reopen the ancestral Chinese restaurant? Wu Chen doesn't think it works. How can he have any idle time? Just sell hamburgers every morning, and practice at other times. 3 cards are great. These 3 cards made Wu Chen feel that he had made a profit. Read more at 1 tenfold multiplier card and 2 duplicate cards. The function of the tenfold increase card is very simple. After using it, the skill of the next shot will be increased tenfold. This is limited to the skill, which means that it can't be a normal attack such as a fist, it needs to be ninjutsu. However, Wu Chen was not stupid. Using such a precious card to hit someone else would become the effect of hitting someone else's 10 punches. Of course, to release a key ninjutsu, and then use this card. As for the copy card, the function is equally simple, but very practical. Copy the card to record the skill once, and then use the card to release that skill completely without any consumption. This is exactly the trump card in the true sense. For example, using the copy card to copy the Tail Beast Jade, Wu Chen immediately added 2 Tail Beast Jade in battle, and it could be cast instantly without costing his chakra. This pair's combat power has been greatly enhanced. However, you can't just copy ninjutsu, you have to be a powerful ninjutsu, otherwise it's a waste of cards. As for the 2 stacks of banknotes, they are ordinary US dollars, a stack of 10,000 US dollars, blood loss. The last sword was the reason Wu Chen felt that he had earned these 2 million blood. The name of this sword is Mingdao Siming. It is a mobile game that Wu Chen has played in his previous life. It is a life-saving equipment in Wangzhe pesticide, and its appearance is a slightly cool silver long sword. The sword is about 1 meter long. There is a winding extending from the hilt, and several blue gems are inlaid on the sword. Generally speaking, it is very handsome. If he was only handsome, Wu Chen would not feel that he was earning blood. The key was the characteristics of this sword. Famous knife simming. The material is extremely tough, the sharpness is extremely high, and it can carry various energy, special effects. Dark screen when receiving fatal damage, enters a short-term invincibility state and increases the movement speed by 30%, lasts 1 second, cooldown, 7 days. Withstand a fatal injury. The value of this feature can be imagined. The clone Wu Chen was injured, and the main body Wu Chen couldn't die, but when the main body died, the clone was gone. That's why Wu Chen decided that when there is danger in the future, he will send an avatar to act as a character. But even then, it is not insurance. After all, if you don't look for danger, there will always be danger. So the ability to save life once in 7 days is exactly what Wu Chen needs. Not only that, Wu Chen also valued this sword. Forging a famous knife simming, it costs 10 million yuan, is it forging? This is the text prompt that the system popped up when Wu Chen tried to use the mall forging function to create a famous sword. 2 million is exchanged for 10 million, and 3 powerful cards and 4 recipes are also given. There is no loss at all, and pure blood is earned. In this way, you can always open treasure chests in the future. Wu Chen felt that he had smuggled to Europe as a non-chief, and he was full of European spirit at the moment. So, he put all these things away, and then spent another 2 million for a 10 consecutive draw. Slap. 10 wads of money, $10,000 each. Wu Chen didn't believe it. He continued to win 10 consecutive victories, and the 2 million was gone. Slap. Another 10 wads of money, $10,000 a wad. Wu Chen was not convinced, gritted his teeth and continued. In the end, 15 million yuan was spent with only 1 million left, but in exchange for the first 8 useful things, plus 62 wads of $10,000 in cash. The remaining amount, 1.62 million yuan. Wu Chen looked up to the sky and screamed, the gambler's psychology kills people. Even if Wu Chen is dead, if I jump out of the window, I won't open the treasure box anymore. Obviously the first wave of 10 consecutive blood earned, but at the end of the draw, the blood was directly lost. Well, it seems that there is no loss. The famous knife and the life of the sword are worth 10 million, and those 3 cards are more than enough to save 5 million. Thinking of this, Wu Chen hurriedly used the wish card and entered the acceptance of the 2 cards. Then he beamed with joy. 10 times multiplier card, wish card exchange price 10 million yuan. Copy card, wish card exchange price 5 million yuan. Okay, it seems that I didn't lose at all, and I made 15 million. But why? I regret so much in my heart. In the evening, Heifeng Mizuman and Uchiha brought soil back. Wu Chen asked them to remove the roll mode, and then remove the shadow clone. After sorting out the memory of the shadow clone, Wu Chen looked weird. There is nothing wrong with the memory of bringing the soil, that is, guiding Jin and practicing ninjutsu. At the same time, Jin Wei treats the soil like his father. It can be said that he has enjoyed a day of blessing with the soil. Except for the female model who refused Jin and called. Compared with the memory with soil, the Black Widow Natasha has a big problem in Bo Feng Shuiman's memory. Why are you so enthusiastic, and why are your eyes wrong when you look at me? Then there is, why are you so close to me, and still actively rubbing against me? After thinking for more than 10 minutes, Wu Chen, who is a single dog, finally figured out, Natasha the Black Widow wants to me, right? Single quote. First seduce me, and then take the evidence when I can't help it, as a threat. Single quote. This is the fairy jump. Single quote. Wu Chen was immediately furious, and he did not think of Black Widows like Bo Feng Shuiman at all. Well, Wu Chen has always been able to do reading comprehension questions. Read more at but after much deliberation, Wu Chen decided not to do anything to Natasha. After all, she was from S.H.I.E.L.D., and she was still a woman. This means she is very troublesome. Since it's trouble, don't mess with it. Go back and let S.H.I.E.L.D. change a contact agent. With a decision in his mind, Wu Chen opened the system panel. Host. Wu Chen. Current character. None. Current play progress. None. Possessed characters. The 4th generation of Naruto Hakodate, 60%. The mysterious mask man Uchiha Otodo, 35%. Number of times to play the character, 0. Character Selection Ability. 4 Generations of Naruto Wave Fengshaoman 1. The main task of Bo Feng Shuiman going out today is to get 1% of the play progress. Now that the goal has been achieved, the ability of the Wave Wind Water Gate can be selected. This time Wu Chen didn't hesitate, and directly chose the Space Ninjutsu talent. He knew how to use the technique of Flying Thunder God, but he didn't have the talent and couldn't use it. Well now, he can successfully use the technique of Flying Thunder God. After trying, Wu Chen left his mark of God of Thunder on the wall, Wu, and then he jumped out the window directly. In the next second, he appeared in the position of Wu on the wall. Sure enough, Wu Chen was very happy. In this way, he would have at least 1/3 of the strength of the wave of Feng Shui clan. Chakra has mastered the Ki Ninjutsu Spiral Pill just like Bo Feng Shuiman. The most important thing is that he can also use the technique of Flying Thunder God to become a Black Flash. Compared with Bo Feng Shuiman, Wu Chen lacked various types of ninjutsu, immortality and sealing technique. Speaking of it, Helix Maru is a ninjutsu with no attributes. Adding the wind attribute will turn into Wind Dun Helix Maru Shuriken. What about chakras with other attributes? Wu Chen's chakra attributes are the same as those of the second pillar, both fire and thunder. What will the spiral pill with the fire attribute chakra look like? There are also thunder attributes. However, it is very difficult to develop ninjutsu. Wu Chen decided to have money in the future and use the wish card to develop corresponding ninjutsu. Next, let's practice Fire Dun Jutsu. Fire Escape Ninjutsu is not only in the memory of Heifeng Mizuman, but also in the memory of Uchiha with Soil. Wu Chen just needs to learn and use, and there is no need to worry about ninjutsu being not enough. As for why you don't practice Lei Dun, it is naturally because of the characters played by Wu Chen. No one has mastered Lei Dun. Although Bo Feng Shuiman has the thunder attribute chakra, he is proficient in space ninjutsu and wind ninjutsu, and he has only a little skin on the thunder attribute and fire attribute. This little fur is not worth mentioning when compared with the memory of Huo Dun with Soil. Naturally, Wu Chen didn't need to consider how to choose. There is no deep memory of Lei Dun as a character, and Wu Chen can't start even if he wants to learn. Wu Chen can only learn and use Lei Dun after the new characters have mastered Lei Dun. In this way, the days passed by calmly for 2 days. Wu Chen mastered several fire escape ninjutsu, and Bo Feng Shuiman's agent for communication was changed to Collison. The time limit for the masked man to give gold and search for a seal has also arrived. During the 3-day period, Jin did not have a very fulfilling life. His chakra volume increased very quickly, from the middle ninja level to the elite upper ninja level in just 3 days. This shows that Jin does not have the potential to become a tailless beast like the dried persimmon ghost shark. Not only that, while Jin also increased the amount of chakra, he also learned the 5 water escape ninjutsu by the way, and truly gained the fighting power of a ninja. It can be said that there is no ambiguity when the current gold is combined with the previous one. Although his strength has been increased many times, Jin Bin is like a child who has made a mistake, half kneeling on the floor, his whole body trembling unceasingly. Because up to now, neither he nor his men have found the land of the 9 tails. After all, New York is so big that even if the wicked party of the Kim Bin gang has thousands of people, it is impossible to find the entire New York City in a few days. Of course, more importantly, Jin did not personally participate in the search for the seal of the 9 tails. He has been improving his strength. It's okay to work hard and improve your strength. When the masked man taught Kim Bin, he didn't blame him for it. If the seal of the 9 tails is successfully found in the follow-up, then naturally everyone will be happy, and Jin will have nothing to do. But it was not found, that Jin did not try his best to complete the task that the masked man confessed, but the evidence is conclusive. In this case, in accordance with the handling methods of the Jin Bin gang, he broke his limbs and sank to the Bay of New York. So at this moment, before the masked man could speak, Jin Bin got down on his knees first to get a chance to survive. The masked man looked at Jin Bin with interest and asked, "Jin Bin, look up, what are you doing?" "My lord, I am guilty." Jin Ping said solemnly, "I shouldn't concentrate on my own affairs, and delay your major events. In any case, something happened, the mistake must be the subordinate." And the subordinates who can deeply understand this and take the initiative to take the blame are the favorites of the superiors. Kim does this right now. If you change to someone else, you might think that Jin and admit his mistake and have a good attitude and forgive him this time. Read more. But would the masked man do that? Looking at Jin Bin, who was still kneeling, the masked man followed Jin Bin's words and continued, Jin Bin, you know you were wrong, then how do you think you should punish yourself? It seems that the option of punishment is handed over to Jin Bin, but in fact, he wants Jin to show his attitude. Jin Ping heard this meaning, and looked up at the masked man. My lord, I will remove one of my arms by myself. Yeah, that's good, the attitude is okay. The masked man nodded, and he walked to Jin He and reached out and patted Jin He on the shoulder. After learning ninjutsu, Jin is very clear about the importance of Jayin. In this way, he was willing to pay the price of an arm, obviously to survive, and the gecko docked its tail. Just when Jin unhappily thought that he was going to remove his arm instead of his life, the masked man said, keep your arm for you. Broken your arm will affect your combat effectiveness. At present, you still have some effect, so I will change the punishment method. Before Jin could ask, he felt a sharp pain, which directly attacked his brain. Pain, extreme pain. Jin didn't want to pick his brain out, maybe he could alleviate the pain. The pain lasted for a minute before it slowly disappeared. Jin Bin's clothes were completely soaked in sweat. He was lying flat on the ground like a half-dead fish, panting for the rest of his life. This is the role of the bird in the cage. The pain disappeared, Jin Bin forced on his tired body, turned over quickly, half-kneeled on the ground, thank your lord for not killing. The masked man retracted the handprint that activated the bird in the cage. Don't rush to say thank you, if you can't find the seal of the 9 tails. The masked man didn't say the words behind, but Jin didn't know what it was. So, he immediately dragged his tired body, ready to go out to join the search team personally. Jin Bin is scared. His brain felt like being pierced by countless needles. Jin didn't want to experience that feeling again. Seeing Jin Bin staggering but leaving behind in a hurry, Wu Chen showed a slight smile. The launch of the caged bird this time was not Wu Chen's whim, but a premeditated plan. Although the bird in the cage was engraved on the head of the gold joint, it had never been activated. Who knows if Kim really believes it? It's good now, I think Jin will be more behaved in the future. As for the situation where the sealed place could not be found, Wu Chen had already expected it. Therefore, it's time for the shadow clone over there to act. Times Square in the central city of Manhattan, New York, known as the crossroads of the world, a brown-haired, bubbly fool walked over with a tired face holding a white spar. The red riding wheel in his eyes flashed past, and then he walked straight to the public seat in the middle of Times Square. Sitting on the public seat, the red in his eyes disappeared, replaced by tired eyes. When are you tall in this kind of day? Ah, the little idiot screamed. He saw the spar in his hand, bursting out a dazzling red light. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.